Welcome to Pulp Diction, the podcast where I yap about movies for what used to be an academic obligation and is now just for fun. Hey everybody, I'm back. I haven't done an episode in forever, and this isn't even gonna be like a real episode. It's gonna be different. It's whatever. It has been 1 month since Superman released. More than that. And it has just released on digital, so people can now buy it and pirate it at a decent quality and all that good stuff. So 1 month later, Superman, does it live up to the hype? I say yes. I am a vehement yes. I have been a strong, fervent supporter of this Superman from the start. Anyone who knows me knows I love Superman. I love James Gunn. I love everything about this movie. Not everything about this movie, I'll get to that. But I'm still in love with this movie. I saw it in a theater for the third time last night, and it makes me happy. I haven't been so happy about a comic book movie since The Batman. I'm going to try not to rehash my points from the initial podcast on this episode, but I can't make any promises. But yeah, I am still so happy about this movie. I have been loving all the wholesome punk rocker memes on TikTok and stuff. It's great. I'm loving the effect this has had on people. I do think it was a success, despite what these people say. And even if it wasn't, box office is not everything. If it was, Avatar would be the best movie of all time, and it's not even that good, but that's another conversation. The impact it's had on pop culture is more of a success than any amount of box office money it could have gotten. That being said, the discourse surrounding this movie still sucks, because anyone who has any criticism is immediately swept up and put with the crowd of haters who only hate it because it's not Zack Snyder's Superman. And people will assume that they're in that group and just say, oh, you're one of Lex Luthor's monkeys. You're just a hater. You hate fun. You don't read comics, etc., etc. And yes, many people are criticizing the movie as the Lex Luthor brainwashed monkeys. But there are valid critiques of the movie, and it sucks that they can't be brought up without someone else accusing you. That being said, it also sucks because the Snyder fans, a very loud vocal minority, will still say that the movie sucks, it's a failure, it failed at the box office, it's for children, it's for kids, it's stupid, it's silly. It's saying all these good things like they're bad things for some reason. And look, I think I rewatched Man of Steel. I'm not a huge fan of it. I get why someone would be. It's not for me. I think that it's almost like a Michael Bay directed Superman. I haven't seen Michael Bay's Transformers, but I am mad. I kind of feel that might be in the same boat where they sort of misunderstand Optimus Prime from what I know, and just sort of mess it up and make it what an edgy 13-year-old thinks would be a cool Superman story or a cool Transformers story. Just a lot of action, a little bit under the surface, just enough to make it seem deep, but so that its supporters can think they're cool and special and intellectual for liking it, so they can put everyone who doesn't like it down for being unintellectual, even though they're not necessarily. And it's a whole thing. And there's a Jesus allegory of Man of Steel, which I'm not opposed to. I think I actually maybe this is an unpopular opinion, I quite like Superman as a Jesus parallel. I think it goes nicely. I am a Christian. I think it goes nicely, a sort of savior sent from the heavens or space in Superman's case, to, be a savior for mankind, even though he's not necessarily Jesus was fully God and fully human, but even though he's not from here, he's more human than any of us in that he's pure and good. However, I get that that Snyder executed the Jesus allegory, but I don't know that he understands Jesus. I get that he understands Jesus was persecuted and everything, but Jesus was not like a reluctant. I mean, he was kind of reluctant. He was kind, and Snyder's Superman doesn't give off that sort of kindness. I think with a better script, Cavill could have. We see snippets in Joss Whedon's Justice League, but it's just not there, unfortunately. Corrin Sweat, on the other hand, very much does have these aspects, these savior aspects, without even trying. The thing is, Jesus was, I mean, obviously a hero and a savior, but he took that role and he was happy and he was kind and he was good to people. He took it, it was a burden, yes, but he didn't take it on as a burden. Snyder Superman feels like he is weighed down by the world. He is carrying that weight. He isn't reflecting kindness and joy like Jesus did, you know, being with the children and everything. Snyder Superman isn't necessarily someone I can see taking time. I mean, obviously he does in the Joss Whedon Justice League, but isn't necessarily someone I can see often taking time for a small child or something. He's a reluctant, sort of dutiful type hero. He doesn't have that warmth. It's warmth. That's the word I'm looking for. One way I've heard it described is that Snyder Superman feels like a cop, whereas Corrin Sweat feels like a firefighter, and I feel that is very apt. A lot of people liken Superman to more of a Moses allegory in that he was sent from a dying people to, you know, down the river to a better place, performs miracles, etc., which I also really like. And you know, it goes well because the creators were Jewish. Anyway, I revisited Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Man of Steel was okay. Batman v Superman was not. I didn't enjoy it very much. I liked parts of it a lot, but most of it was bad. Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, sucks. He talks like a 14-year-old Redditor who gets all his talking points from r/atheism, and like, he is the subject of an r/I'm 14 and this is deep post. It's so bad. It's genuinely so cringy. I did not enjoy it. He maybe could have been a good Edward Nygma Riddler, but he wasn't. But that's another story. I'm supposed to be talking about James Gunn's Superman. Well, one other thing I do want to say. I think the Snyder Cut of Justice League was the best and worst thing to happen. Now, I think it is a wonderful success for creativity and for artistic freedom. It was an undeniable victory, I mean, for artists and getting their vision out when a studio doesn't necessarily want that to happen. And I'm glad Snyder got to do that. I'm happy for him. He seems like a wonderful human being, even if I don't connect with all of his art. That being said, I think the Snyder Cut was also the worst thing to happen, because it's like you give a mouse a cookie, right? You give the Snyder fans, he has a very devoted fan base, and I can respect that. You give the Snyder fan base a cookie, a Snyder Cut, and they'll ask for a universe. They will not stop crying for #restore the Snyderverse, give us the Ben Affleck Batman movie, all this crap, and it's not gonna have. They don't seem to understand. Even if this movie failed, they wouldn't get the Snyderverse back. We would get no more Superman. We'd just get more Batman stuff, because that's the only thing that's been making DC money. And I mean, Ben Affleck doesn't even want to come back as Batman. He dropped out of his solo Batman movie, first as director, then as actor, and that's why we got the Batman with Pattinson, which is amazing. one of my favorite superhero movies ever. I would have liked to see how Affleck's movie would have turned out. It was supposed to have a James Bond sort of tone with Deathstroke as the villain, and that would have been awesome. But I'm glad we got the Batman instead. But that's my thoughts on the discourse regarding Superman 2025. Now, I said there are some criticisms, and I think they are valid. The main one for me is I just wish there was more Clark Kent shown. We see a lot of Superman, not much Clark. I think the pacing is a huge strength and weakness for this movie. It's like exactly 2 hours long, I want to say. It's not too short by any means, or too long. But the pacing is so breakneck. It goes thing. Stuff happening every minute. And you get very little time to breathe and just let things happen. It is relentlessly entertaining. The last movie I saw with pacing quite like this, that just the runtime just flies by, was Barbie. And I loved Barbie. I'm not afraid to say that. And this is similar because, like I said, it's just going from one thing to the next relentlessly. And that's great. It's entertaining, but it kind of not hurts the story, but the story could be strengthened just a little bit if it had more time to breathe and settle, and you had these moments of downtime. Like the conversation between Superman and Lois, which 12-minute talking scene in the middle of a movie, most people don't even realize it's 12 minutes. It's brilliant. Love James Gunn. That's so great. And I do love, like, the constant kineticism of this movie. Everything is always moving from a story standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint. Every scene, I don't feel like you could really cut anything and make it shorter. But the cinematography too, the camera's always moving, or the characters are always moving. Everything's always in motion, which makes it so fast paced. But it also makes the moments where everything is still feel all the more peaceful and powerful. You have the talk with Lois, not the argument, because things are moving around there. That's why it feels so exciting. And I want to talk about that in a second. But his conversation with Lois, with the imp in the background and the Justice Gang, wonderful scene. And where things are still there and it finally feels peaceful. And also the farm things feel peaceful finally. And it's just a break. And you get to calm down and cool it off before the next set piece. And I love that. And then when things do get moving again, the camera's always moving, people are always moving, things are always happening, everything's in motion, and it looks and feels amazing. It's comic book-esque, man. But again, I do wish it took more of those peaceful moments. And also, to break up the pacing, there were originally supposed to be day of the week title cards, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I feel like if you're looking for them, you can kind of tell where they were supposed to be. And I would have loved if he'd stuck with that. I think it would have been a great choice and broken up the pacing just a little bit. But I mean, it doesn't hurt the movie that much that they're not there. I just wish they were. He did the same thing in Suicide Squad, but intensely stylized. I read somewhere that they would have just been simple for this movie, which is fine. I think that works. I think it would have worked. I saw an edit where someone did a little basic concept of what it would have looked like, and I loved it. I got it. The argument with Lois, sorry, in the interview. What I noticed on this third watch, Clark is constantly moving around, shifting. He's so uncomfortable in this position. And Lois isn't moving around that much, really only to move the microphone, the talking thingy, to Clark to get his voice better. She's like very sturdy, very steadfast, headstrong in her beliefs and what she knows. Superman is still uncomfortable. He's still figuring everything out. He's still figuring himself out. This is not an origin story, but this is still an early Superman story. He's still a rookie. He's still figuring himself out. That's what this movie is about. He's finding his own identity still. It's almost a Superboy story. It's not. I don't know. I just think the argument is a great encapsulation of their characters, sort of at the points they are at the story, and it's awesome. It's awesome. I said there are valid criticisms, and I named a couple. I do think some are not so valid. People say Superman is too weak, or there's too much humor. It's every 5 minutes. I don't. I felt like the humor was pretty balanced. It was actually very restrained for James Gunn, and the tone just felt like a comic book, like something I'd read in a Mark Waid comic book or something. Superman Birthright. I don't know. It felt comic booky. It felt cartoony in all the best ways. I've been watching Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, all that. It felt like it could have been from one of those. I feel like the tone was perfect. Now, I did say some people say Superman's too weak. If you feel like he's getting beat up the whole movie, I guess he kind of is. He loses like one fight on screen, one off screen before the movie actually happens. And here's the thing. James Gunn with this movie was fighting the long-standing public belief that Superman is boring because he's too strong, he's too powerful, he can beat everybody, so how can he possibly be interesting? A lot of people think that. I know, I have known people in high school, like, not necessarily comic book fans, but the general public, just normal folks, think that he's a boring character because he's so basic. He's basic because he was the first, but, you know, it doesn't matter. And people didn't like that. So he was trying to sort of deconstruct and tear down that belief and show them what Superman truly is, which is, as Christopher Reeve put it best, a friend. And Corrin Sweat best encapsulated that since Reeve. It's the best encapsulation of that since Christopher Reeve, who might still, I think, is still the best Superman, but Corrin Sweat's a close second for me. I have no doubt he's the Robert Downey Jr. of the DCU. But I digress. You have people who are huge fans of, like, Man of Steel saying, oh, he's too weak, he's getting his ass kicked every 2 seconds. I don't like it. And James Gunn was put in a tough spot because you can't really simultaneously fight the belief that he's too strong and appease the people who think he should be that powerful all the time in the same movie. So it's a tough spot. I think in the going forward, Corrin Sweat will be at a stronger power level. I mean, the black hole feat of just blowing away, using his super breath to get out of a black hole is ridiculous, and it's awesome, and I love it. And that automatically puts him at, like, the top tier Superman live action power levels, whatever. I think power scaling's a dumb conversation anyway. I don't really care, but I think too weak is a dumb argument. Like, if you're watching these for just, like, fights, like, go watch Godzilla or something. Not like Godzilla v Kong, I should say, not like Godzilla -1, which is an actual movie. Anyway, what other criticisms were there? Some people don't like the speech at the end. They think it's corny, or he's whiny, or he's complaining. I love that speech. It hit me in my feels a lot the first time. And Corrin Sweat did bring that up too in the filming of it. We saw in the making of documentary that was just released. He feels like it's more like Superman trying to convince himself than Lex Luthor. But I mean, he has these bad feelings, and it's okay, is what James Gunn said. He's letting them out, and it's okay to let those feelings out, right? Because he is as human as the rest of us, and he's letting us know that. This movie is so brave for having that is essentially its climax more than any physical battle or anything, and that's so brave of James Gunn to do that, because if that speech doesn't work, the whole movie doesn't work, right? And this movie, it's more of an emotional climax than a physical one, which is rare for a superhero movie, I feel. I think Thunderbolts kind of had that too, which is awesome. Thunderbolts was so good, and it underperformed so hard, which is so unfortunate. I liked it more than Fantastic Four. Anyway, this is a little aside. I liked Fantastic Four. I didn't think it was great. I thought it had the same sort of live-action cartoon feel that Superman did. but I felt like the story just wasn't all there. James Gunn was the sole writer on Superman, whereas Fantastic Four had like 4 writers, and I feel like you kind of feel that it had sort of too many cooks in the kitchen. It wasn't super focused, whereas Superman felt very personal from having one sole writer. And I don't know. I don't know. I liked everything about Fantastic Four except the story. Everything in space was awesome. If the whole movie was like that, it would have been amazing. But it was just good. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, Superman. But yeah, I think the final speech works, and it is corny, but that's Superman. He's a cornball. He's a cheesy guy, and that's okay. It's okay to show emotions and feelings. People think that stoicism is the way to be manly, but it's not. Like, you can be a man and show you have emotions. It's a very healthy depiction of masculinity, and I love that. Superman is a superman. He's everything that a man should aspire to be. He's everything that he makes me want to be a better man, a superer man, if you will. And I mean, that speech, it makes me feel like that's a Superman I can connect to, right? Video watchers, you can see I took my hat off. Audio listeners, love you to death. If you were watching the video, you would see I took my hat off. I'm recording this later because I wanted to say something that I feel is related to this point. I said in the initial podcast that Cavill's Superman undeniably had this presence, this, as much as the word is overused now, aura about him. He would walk, if you were to walk into a room, you'd be like, holy moly, that is Superman. However, you look at David Cornsweat Superman, and he looks huggable. He looks like a Superman that I would love to get a hug from. And I felt so validated when I was watching the Making of Superman documentary, because Cornsweat says that he wants Superman to be huggable. I'm like, yes! That's what I've been saying since the initial photos leaked from the set where Superman's with all the kids that we now know is after the kaiju fight. That's my Superman. He's huggable, dude. Anyway, back to past Dylan. This is maybe the first movie we're seeing where we're not viewing Superman as a sort of god or a mythical figure or someone above the rest of us, right? Above us lowly humans. We see Superman as one of us. We are invited by James Gunn to see the world through Superman's eyes, to see the best in everyone, beauty everywhere, value in every life, from a kaiju to a human to a tiny little squirrel. And for 2 brief hours, we see that beauty and value and the best in everyone, even someone as evil as Lex Luthor, and for just a second we can feel just a pang of pity for him, because he is a small little man, and that is what we truly get a glimpse of at the end. His angry tears are so perfect. Everything's crumbling down around him. I love Cornsweat's look at him. You can kind of get a sense of that disapproval, but also a sense of pity down underneath for this man. And it's, oh my gosh, it's so good. So good. There are probably some other... Again, there are valid critiques of this movie. I like all the action. I think everything was great. I do think some of the flying scene angles were a little odd. But they were stylistic. I like it. The thing is, the flaws of this movie are not the flaws of, like, overproduced studio slop, like Amazing Spider-Man 2 forcing them to have a million villains and do all this dumb crap and everything. The flaws are that of the artist, and these imperfections are a sign of just artistry. It's sort of like, I don't know, you look at a painting, right, and it has these tiny little imperfections, splotches, scratches, whatever, and that adds personality to it, right? You look at, like, AIR or some crap, or studio, like a hotel art or whatever, I don't know. It's not going to have imperfections or anything like that. Well, it'll have imperfections, but it's a different kind. It's not artistic mistakes. It's just mistakes made because they're trying to make money or produce it or whatever. The flaws of Superman are the flaws of the artist, and I think that adds personality to it, honestly. And I will take the flaws of an unfettered artistic vision any day of the week over those of overproduced studio slop. I said that in my Letterboxd review, I think almost word for word, of this movie Americana that nobody knows about. It was actually, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't great, but it was good. Sydney Sweeney can actually act, which is crazy. I liked her jeans in the movie, but yeah, this is a movie where we were invited to see the world through Superman's eyes. And it's wonderful. I said in my letterboxd.com review of Captain America the First Avenger, follow me at DylanG_42, that it was hard to imagine a movie quite that sincere and unshaken in its belief in America and humanity in general in today's more cynical climate. I think Superman is that movie. Superman is quite similar to Captain America the First Avenger, actually, in a very good way. I love the first Captain America movie. They're both stylized, they're both very optimistic, they have a lot of faith in humanity, and that's what this movie's about. People don't have faith in humanity anymore, but Superman does, and that's what makes him punk rock, right? The thesis statement of this movie is that kindness is punk rock, right? And, you know, it's nice. This is sincere. It has faith in humanity, and that's kind of refreshing in a world where we have, like, Invincible and The Boys, where faith in humanity, not that I don't love both of those shows, where faith in humanity, even Marvel, where faith in humanity is becoming more and more rare every day. I don't have a whole lot else of the bullet points I wrote down. I did, in the first initial podcast of this movie, I was beating myself over the head because I forgot to mention my favorite cameo in the movie, which was Will Reeve. It was a few days before Superman came out that I watched the Christopher Reeve documentary with my dad, which was so sad. What a guy, Christopher Reeve. And his son, Will Reeve, was in the movie, and in the documentary, I mean, obviously, but he got a cameo. He's a news reporter in real life, and he got a cameo as a news reporter in the movie, announcing the Justice Gang, which was amazing. And that was my favorite cameo appearance in the film. Just a tribute to the OG Superman, not the OG, but the OG movie? No, because what's his face was Kirk Allen, I think. You know what I mean. He was basically the OG Christopher Reeve, and it's a great tribute. It hit me right here after watching the documentary. That's my heart. I'm pointing at my heart. It's great. This one criticism in particular that really actually, like, kind of bothers me. Not a lot of people, again, a vocal minority, have been saying that James Gunn turned Clark's parents into idiots, into dumb rednecks, that sort of thing. I think that says a lot more about, this is very much an invalid criticism, that says a lot more about the people making this critique than the movie. Like, it's unrealistic, they're cartoons, they're idiots. They're not idiots. They weren't portrayed as dumb. They were portrayed as sweet and kind and caring and also realistic. Like, that phone thing was very real, of, like, you know, just old people. And, like, they have thick accents. Who cares? I'm not even from a super rural area, and I know plenty of people just like that. They're so real, but they're also so sweet and kind. And we didn't get much of them. That's another thing I would have liked to get more of. But you just get this sense of love and care from them, and it's great. These are probably my favorite live action Ma and Pa Kent we've had in any movie. In live action, probably still second to John Schneider and Annette O'Toole from Smallville. Which is also still has my favorite Lex Luthor in Michael Rosenbaum, although Nicholas Hoult is a close second. Yeah, just the parents aren't stupid. They're not stupid. They're sweet. They're so sweet. I love them so much. Come on, not a, it's a dumb criticism. It's a really dumb criticism. I'm sorry. Some people said there's too much humor. It's every 5 minutes. It interrupts every good moment. I don't think that's a very valid critique either. I mean, the humor's subjective. It's not going to work for everyone. That's fine. But I feel like they didn't. Again, James Gunn restrained himself. He didn't really interrupt any serious moments with a joke. They were all placed very well, very concisely, and they were tasteful. It was the humor's fine. It wasn't every 2 minutes. It wasn't ruining every serious moment. It was like, I don't know. A lot of people seem to just be looking for things to dislike about this movie, but whatever. One criticism I think might have some validity to it. Probably the most controversial thing about this movie is the change to Jor-El and Lara-El, making them want Superman to rule Earth. This isn't new. This is something that an idea that John Byrne introduced in his Superman run, and some people are switching up on him now, saying his run wasn't even good in the first place. I just read it. It's actually so good. I can't believe I let people on TikTok fool me into thinking it might not be that good, because it's great. I love it. It fits the point of the movie that Superman is good because he chooses to be, not because he's told to be, right? His choice, it's like Pa Kent said, his choices make him who he is, and he's accepting that part of himself. Again, this is still an early Superman. He's still figuring himself out, his identity, and just figuring out how to be Superman. And some people don't like that he's not so super stoic in this movie. I'm sure he will. He's maybe didn't have quite as much confidence as a Superman later in his career would. Like an animated series, Superman. But I think this Superman might grow into that sort of confidence and not stoicism, because Superman should never be stoic. He shouldn't be afraid to show emotions. He should be just good. And right now, I think he's very similar in tone to Smallville Clark Kent. This is a Superman I can see Tom Welling growing into. I think he's very similar to Jack Quaid's voice performance in At My Adventures with Superman, which is a lovely little anime-style show. He's no Cavill. He's no self-serious, injustice, fascist. Anyway, as I was saying, I do think that the change to the parents is valid as a critique in that Superman can be considered an immigrant story. And in doing that, it can be perceived as his home world is bad, where he came from is bad, and he needs to let go of it because they're evil and weird. But I don't think that was very clearly not James Gunn's intention. I think to get that message from it, you're going to have to be looking for that message. It's not about the immigration allegory. It's about him choosing to be kind in a world that doesn't necessarily support kindness all the time. You saw how quickly everyone switched up on Superman despite his past good deeds, which as I said in the first podcast, it's almost a parallel to James Gunn's own experience with cancel culture, where his life was almost ruined for some off-color jokes he made years and years ago that he has since apologized for, and many people he's worked with vouched for his character, all that. What was I going to say? I saw one take I really liked. It was that, it was about Superman's swearing in the movie. He doesn't swear, usually, unless he's quoting something. I didn't notice until the third watch that he did say piss. He smelled the piss of Gurkos' pants. But other times he's just quoting another person, which is kind of swearing, but also not really. But Superman says, like, gosh, golly, darn it, I can be such a jerk sometimes. All this stuff. It's so cheesy and lovely, and I love it. No, it's sort of a reflection of Superman. He is trying to reflect the best of humanity. And so he's trying to be a positive role model, like how Corn Sweat's explanation for the trunks was that he doesn't want to scare kids. So in not swearing, he's sort of setting an example, like being a good person. Don't swear, which I swear a decent amount. So I could probably stand to be more Superman-esque. I am around children, in my language choices, but I don't know. Did I get that out clearly? Maybe, hopefully. Oh, another invalid criticism. Some people, again, not a lot, some, have said that the soundtrack is lazy. It is a ripoff of the John Williams theme, a rehash, whatever, uninspired. I think it's very inspired. I love it so much. It's, man, it's taking the motif, yes, but it's doing its own thing with it. Like, the main part of the Williams theme is the dun-dun-dun-dun, is the dun-dun-dun, but this one focuses a lot more of the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. And so it's using the same sort of stuff, but a different part of it, and emphasizing that, I don't know. But also, like, I don't see how it's different from them using the same James Bond theme in every one of those movies. It's so essential to the character. It's such a huge part of him, as much as the gun barrel and everything. And I don't see why it should be different for Superman. His theme is just as the John Williams theme is just as much a part of Superman as the cape, the emblem, the trunks. Maybe not that much, but you know what I mean. I mean, overall, I just think I still love the movie. I really do hope we get so many more of these. I will watch every single one. It's nice. It's really nice to have nice superhero movies, you know? And I am sorry that Snyder fans are not getting what they want. I really am. But at a certain point, they just gotta move on and not be all nitpicky and looking for things to hate. It's absurd to me that anyone could go into something looking for reasons to hate it. I at least try not to go into movies with that mindset. I am looking for things to like about it. I want to like movies. I do love movies usually. And to actively want something to fail and like nitpick every single tiny little flaw in it is, I mean, it's like CinemaSins style. It's ridiculous. It's inane. I don't know. Don't be such a negative Nancy. Be a Superman. Be punk rock. What else was I gonna say? Oh, the Peacemaker cameo was hilarious. All 3 times I've seen it in the theater, that's gotten a laugh from everyone in the crowd. Which I didn't know that many people knew who Peacemaker was. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just see it's John Cena or just everyone knows it's John Cena. So that's what makes them laugh. But it's just, I love the Peacemaker cameo. Can't wait for season 2. That's going to be so good. Oh man, I just rewatched season 1. It's a great show. But that's about all I got to say. I love this movie so much. I'm so excited for where this universe is going next. I will see Supergirl the moment it comes out. I love this movie, man. I really do. And it sucks that a lot of people don't, but it is what it is. And I've been slacking on the pod this summer. Maybe it'll pick up soon, maybe it won't. I'm heading off to college in 3 days. Wait, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What the heck? Whew. Well, it's been real. I gotta go use the restroom. I'm gonna wrap this up. Bye-bye.